Five Nights at Freddy's 3 has the scariest setup of any Fnaf game I've played so far. Guaranteed, I'm not actually that far into the series yet. My chronological playthrough is taking some time, it seems. However, in order to better prepare myself to make this video, I have watched a load of Fnaf playthroughs. So shout out to Rabid Retrospect Games for your silent walkthroughs, and of course I rewatched the classic Darko and Markiplier playthroughs. I'll link these channels below so you can see what footage I've watched. Now when I say scariest setup, I'm talking about the actual space you as the player inhabit. The office you're in, the cameras you look at, everything right down to door design and colour of the place. I'll mention lore and gameplay a little bit, but for this first part, I mostly want to focus on the room layout. Also, I'm not really considering sister location or security breach, since large portions of these two games take place in unique areas that make up one large facility, as opposed to the other 5 games, which more or less take place in one room where you're able to view multiple others. So Fnaf 3, right? First of all, location. Fnaf 1, 2, and 6 take place in the security offices / terminals of Fazbear Pizzeria locations, Fnaf 4 in a child's bedroom, and Fnaf 3 in a Fazbear themed horror attraction. Right off the bat, the fact that the location is deliberately horror allows for more, well, horror. You are part of the attraction, which means your office is deliberately scary too. Just take a look around. The grimy, decaying walls, loose wires hanging from the ceiling, and box of disassembled animatronic parts are immediately unsettling and creepy. The frickin' Freddy husk in the doorway gave me chills for the first 3 nights every time I saw it lurking out the corner of my eye. I often mistook it for Springtrap or something else. The decor, to put it simply, is chilling, in a way that the other attractions just can't be. The greeny-yellow tint to absolutely everything makes the atmosphere of the office feel toxic and stifling to be in. And yet, compared to every other office, it's massive. So much so that you have to swivel all the way over here to view the doorway properly. This is scary for a number of reasons. First of all, having your eyes off the doorway for any amount of time is always tense. It has been in every game, but there's a key difference. The doorway here is lit. Even so far back as the first game, the doorways and vent entrances in Fnaf have always been dark. This means that even when you have vents and clear sight, you're not going to see something unless you hit a light or shine your torch down there. This gives the player the option to choose when they want to see what lurks behind the doors. It gives them the chance to mentally prepare themselves, unknowingly, before they hit that button. Fnaf 3's setup would supposedly not give you that luxury. With its doorway fully lit, the player is instantly going to be confronted by whatever is at the entrance, whether they've had time to prepare for it or not. But Tydo, the player still has to turn away from the cameras to see the door. Isn't that the same sort of mental preparation as hitting a light? Nope. You see, the player doesn't turn this way to check the door, most of the time. If you're swiveling in this direction, it's because you're going to reboot your systems on this little panel here. Whereas in other games, the action of lighting a doorway is to deliberately search for an animatronic, the action of turning towards the door in Fnaf 3 is not. This makes it all the scarier for if you turn that way to do something else and are instead met with an animatronic silently lurking outside your office. There's another thing about this doorway setup which is particularly terrifying, aside from the Freddy husk and these lights up here that kinda look like eyes. That is the panel that will undoubtedly block your view of that doorway whilst you check your systems. It's bad enough not being able to see your door when checking cams, but the tension a player feels having their panel up with the door right behind is pretty intense. You just have to sit and wait, knowing that as the seconds tick by, a threat could have already made its way into your office, and you'll only know if you're dead meat or not when the panel inevitably goes down. Honestly, I feel like I could talk about this particular side of the office for ages, but I won't. I have other stuff to cover. Next, the window. Right in front of you for most of your playthrough will be this glass window. Every now and then, a shadow will catch your eye, lurching slowly across the span of the pane. If that isn't creepy as heck, I don't know what is. To make it even creepier, this window is still visible behind your camera panel, meaning that even behind your screen, you're not safe. You could be scanning cams and out the corner of your eye see something move. Was it by the window? Is it now in your office? Simply chilling. Actually, the fact your camera doesn't fill the whole screen is pretty scary in itself. In the first 2 games, your camera can almost become a little bit of a shield. Pull it up to cover your whole view of the office, and it momentarily feels like you aren't in a tiny dingy room hiding from certain death. But in FNAF 3, you are always aware of exactly where you are, with no escape. Speaking of cameras, just look at this! Look how grainy the footage is. Compared to FNAF 1 and 2, it's practically unreadable. I, for one, found it so much more stressful checking cams for Springtrap in this game than I did checking cams in any other FNAF game I played so far. In fact, maybe that's because in the first 2 games you don't need to check cams. I mean, you do, but only Foxy's cam to stop him moving, and Cam 11 to keep the puppet in the box. With those 2 exceptions, you really have no need to check the cams for where animatronics are, ever. There are other methods of finding the most urgent cases in your office, like sound cues for when someone's in the vent, or just hitting lights. The gameplay in FNAF 3 means you need to have your eyes on Springtrap every chance you get. Losing him for even 30 seconds and you could very well find yourself with a visitor at the door. Lastly, the lore. I won't get into it too much, but discovering who you were trapped with over the course of the game is pretty terrifying. Assuming you've played the first 2 FNAF games and have been trying to piece together the lore as it goes, the reveal that Springtrap is William Afton is bound to be a pretty hefty discovery. The fact that he's the only real animatronic you have to face also definitely gives the game this tension of a big bad boss fight. So yeah, +2 scare points for that. So with everything I've just rambled on about, you'd assume I had a pretty scary time playing this game. Right? Right? No. Just, honestly, no. I mean, you probably already know from the title, but no. I don't do well with horror. I have literally spent 9 hours playing Five Nights at Freddy's, the first one, and I still scream at the same jump scares I've seen a million times over. With FNAF 3, I kind of stopped screaming by night 3, I didn't even flinch by night 4, and I was pretty bored by night 5. And night 6? No tension at all. I wasn't even trying to beat night 6, I was trying to deliberately fail it so that I could get some footage for this video. But I passed it first try! It was so unscary, which was almost disappointing because I had been the most scared to play this one so far. So why? If FNAF 3 had such an incredible setup, why is it largely regarded as one of the least scary FNAF games? Ignore Security Breach, we're ignoring Security Breach, that's its own thing. Well, now we have to delve into actual gameplay, right? It's stressful. I mean, yeah, the system's going offline constantly and desperately trying to keep track of a singular but lethal threat. That is stressful. But the stress wears off pretty quick. Firstly, it has to be said, Springtrap's jump scare sequence is the thing that threw me off the most when first playing this game. He just sort of strolls into the room, as if to ask you if you have a moment to talk about your car's extended warranty. The only thing remotely frightening about this jump scare is the sound that plays when it occurs. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, but I really do like the sound design in this game. It's really good, very spooky. No, but seriously, I could make so many memes out of this jump scare sequence because it looks so bad. What makes it even less scary is you know when it's coming for ages. Springtrap will usually appear at your door and just shyly stand there, peeking at you for a full 15 seconds, looking very unthreatening. Even for his second jump scare where he runs behind your camera screen, that's just funny. His little sprint to the side. I saw someone in a YouTube comment say his jump scare is like this for lore reasons, as because Springtrap is a corpse in a costume, his movement is restricted, and that's why he can't leap at you. But like, he can run. He runs behind your camera. It also doesn't change the fact that it's just not spooky in any capacity. The jump scares that actually function well as jump scares would be the phantom jump scares. You get like a 3-second warning before boom, loud noise, quick movement, flashing lights. It's good, it's doing its job as a jump scare. There's just one problem. They can't hurt you. They cause alarms to trigger and systems to fail, sure, and they can cause harm in the long run, but they themselves are not an endgame and as a result are by default less threatening. It's not scary when you know that you're not going to die. I mean, they might make you jump, but you very quickly pick up that these just aren't as dangerous. Another thing is the lighting. I know I praised it earlier for forcing you to be confronted by whatever lurks in your doorway, but it's actually a little too bright. This may just be a personal opinion, but I think it would have been better if it was just a little darker. Like, dark enough to faintly see Springtrap lurking. Heck, you might not even see him upon first glance. That would be a fatal mistake. If the same sort of abstraction on the cameras was applied to the door, It would make things scarier for sure. That, or the light could even just be flickering occasionally, giving you a quick glimpse of what is there. And the last thing is a fault that can be linked to many of the FNAF games, with the exception of Pizzeria Simulator and FNAF 1. The unbeatable method. For most FNAF games, there is an unbeatable method that can guarantee 100% victory if performed correctly. For FNAF 2, I discovered its music box, mask, middle, vent, repeat. As long as your reflexes are quick enough to deal with any threats you uncover, and you're lucky enough to not be bombarded by 3 animatronics at once, victory is assured. So for FNAF 3, it's pretty much the same. Find Springtrap, keep him lured to one area, block the vent he may attempt to use in that area, and manage system failures. Easy done. This makes the one singular big bad boss hunting you down thing that Springtrap had going for him kind of unscary, cause he's beatable. There's no small chance he might win as long as you're doing everything right. You know how he works, and he's never going to surprise you. This flaw is not unique to FNAF 3, of course, but given the faults already in place in the game that make FNAF 3 unscary, this works particularly unfavourably. So to conclude, I don't hate FNAF 3. In fact, I really do like it for many of the reasons I listed at the start, along with personal things I like, such as the sound design, Springtrap's design, and the general lore behind the game. It has so much potential to be scary, even though it ultimately isn't. I can still appreciate that. Besides, it's so memeable! Thank you for listening to this video. I've never really done anything like this before, but I enjoyed making it, and I might make similar videos in the future, so subscribe if that's something you want to see. Drink tea, take care, and have a good day!